Hello friends, welcome. In this video, we'll be discussing the psychodynamic model of psychopathology. Before that, let us know what is psychopathology. The science that studies and diagnoses these psychological disorders. Now the second part of our topic, psychodynamic. What is that? The psychodynamic model is based upon the psychoanalytical model proposed by the Sigmund Freud. It suggests that the impact of childhood experiences and unconscious mental processes on the personality development of an individual. It means the childhood experiences are the prime factors that significantly influences the personality development of the individual in later stages. So this is the crux of psychodynamic. Psychodynamic model is based upon certain assumptions. These assumptions are the base of this model. If we remove these assumptions, the psychodynamic model becomes worthless. So while studying this model, you have to keep these assumptions in your cognition. The first one, the unresolved unconscious conflicts are the genesis of psychological disorders. Ego and superego forms the unconsciousness. The third assumption is the psychological disorders are the result of the conflict between these three components of unconscious. And the fourth assumption is in the event of conflict or problem in decision making, individual uses defense mechanisms. What are the principles of psychodynamic model? I know till the time you've read about what is psychoanalysis, how it impacts our personality development. But let us recap it here. You know the ego and superego. What are these? These are three components of unconscious. Our behavior results from the interaction of these three. You know, it's a source of two instinctual drives, that is constructive and destructive, and it works upon the pleasure principle. The second component is ego. Ego mediates between the id and superego and works on the reality principle. Superego. It is referred as conscience and directly concerned with the right or the wrong. It works on the moral principle. So this is a brief about the principles of psychodynamic model. Under this model, there are anxiety, defense mechanism, and the unconsciousness. So what is anxiety? The warning of impending danger, the fear of unexpected situation, which led to a painful experience. Freud, in the psychodynamic model, proposed three types of anxiety: reality anxiety, neurotic anxiety, and the moral anxiety. So what are the defense mechanisms? The name itself is sufficient to suggest its meaning. One individual defends himself or herself using different techniques to tide over the situation that are known as the defense mechanisms. And remember, these defense mechanisms are irrational measures. Individual try his or best efforts to prove them rational, but they are irrational. अंगूर खट्टे हैं. I think you could get it. And these defense mechanisms are depression, denial, regression, displacement, rationalization, etc. etc. So what is unconsciousness? Unconsciousness is the larger and the submerged part of your mind. It is a storehouse of what? Unfulfilled desires, your conflicts, your bad experiences, your hurtful memories. Remember one point. These things which are stored in the unconscious part of your mind are rejected by the conscious mind because they are not feasible to practice due to various reasons. They still reside in your unconscious mind and occasionally get reflected in your dreams and fantasies. And remember, your dreams are the reflection of what you have in your unconsciousness. When the material that is stored in our unconscious mind fails to integrate with ego, this means there is a conflict between that material and our ego. That conflict leads to the irrational maladaptive behavior, commonly known as the mental disorders or psychological problems. So what is the theme of this model? The decisive theme of this model is the unconscious material, if not integrated with the ego, leads to the irrational and maladaptive behavior, which are known as the psychological disorders. This psychodynamic model is based upon this theme. Apart from that assumption, let us understand the psychosexual development. I know you've studied this, but let us recap it. You know, the personality development is the product of successive stages of libidinal pleasure. You know, the oral stage, the first 2 years, where mouth is the erroneous zone. Anal stage, 2 to 3 years, where the membrane of the anal is the erroneous zone. The phallic stage, the 3 to 5 years, where self-manipulation of genitals is the erroneous zone. Then the latency stage, 6 to 12 years, there is no erroneous zone because individual of the child is busy with learning various type of life skills. And the finally genital stage, about 12 years age, where genitals are fully developed and individual enters into puberty. So this is the psychosexual development, and the disruption at any stage of development leads to the development of mental disorders in the future life. Key features of this model. You know, the model presents a negativistic and deterministic view of human behavior that minimizes rationality and freedom of self-determination. That's a very important crux of this model. Now, what are the key features of this model? I'll read a statement here. This model presents a negativistic and deterministic view of human behavior that minimizes rationality and freedom of self-expression. Means this model is inherently a negativistic type. The people are dominated by the instinctual biological drives and unconscious desires. This model assumes that the psychological disorders results from the either constructive or destructive instincts of human nature. The unconscious motives have the dynamic role in genesis of mental disorders. The ego defense mechanisms contribute in development of mental disorders. The continuous use of defense mechanisms is the indicator of development of mental disorders. The model further suggests that the childhood experiences are very, very important and plays significant role in development of mental disorders. Sexual factors, they have their own say, their own role in development of mental disorders. And finally, the repression of traumatic experiences and irrational fears also causes mental disorders in the individual. These are the 7 key features of psychodynamic model. And that's all about the psychodynamic model. But if you are curious enough and you want to know more about this, just refer these books, websites, journals, articles. Dear friends, if you love and like the contents and the presentation style of this video, tell to others. But if you have any question, any query, any critical comment to make, any suggestion, you can connect me through these social media handles, or directly you can write in my comment box, or you can email me at wamasujit@yahoo.com. And do not forget to watch my next video on the topic, the behavioral model of psychopathology. Thank you, friends.